my favorite authors is an author called W.G. Sebald, who passed away in 2001, who wrote virtual histories that referenced many real people, many real characters in his own life. And yet, for me, those books were a way of accessing the past while having a more sort of honest contract with the viewer, because once you start writing, it all becomes fiction. It dawned on me when I was a teenager reading biographies and things that these, great historians, they're simply storytellers. And, most people don't remember what they had for breakfast that morning, much less something that they weren't present for. So I think that for me, the best way of being in dialogue with the past is not to be responsible, to someone's life rights. I shot my first film, The Childhood of a Leader, in Budapest, and ultimately returned for the Brutalist to shoot this there. I did one film in New York called Vox Lux, and it's very, very difficult shooting in this country for a lot of reasons. And in Hungary, there's 2 film labs, so especially if you're shooting on celluloid, it's a great place to be. You don't have to ship your nag anywhere, and they're very well-oiled machines, and they're processing a lot of material. So a healthy lab is a lab that's doing a lot of stuff, and so the thing was that for a while we were exploring shooting the film in Poland, and for a variety of reasons, it started to seem to only make sense to go back to Budapest. And we have so many people that we've worked with there for many years that are just incredibly competent, brilliant technicians. My Steadicam operator was with me on Childhood of a Leader. He actually just shot my wife's film as well, which we returned to Budapest for this summer. So, I mean, we have something good going on there, and I kind of feel like if it's not broken, don't fix it. And the thing about Philadelphia is that the downtown area had changed so much because of the highway that's around downtown, and there's really no great vantage point that totally captures it. So we just shot B-roll there, and did a lot of comp work to make stuff in the deep background and stuff sort of relatively accurate. But New York, it's a little easier with the skyline, because there's a sequence in New York where we shot around the UN, and that really hasn't changed that much in the last 70-something years. So it's always on a case-by-case basis. I mean, my next project is a movie in California, but I think that once again I would probably only shoot a small portion of it here, and I would shoot the rest abroad, because frankly there's a lot of places that are just friendlier to make a movie. Judy Becker, my production designer, is a real icon. She did Brokeback Mountain, Carol for Todd Haynes, as well as I'm Not There, all of David O. Russell's films, and she is, a bona fide Northeasterner, New Yorker, that has a real sensitivity for 1950s Americana, colonial furniture, etc. I was in very, very good hands with her. She also works very well with very little, which very, very few designers can. And she's used to operating with, 2 tin cans and a piece of string and really turning it into something. And so we just sort of had to make choices, as opposed to here's a million options. It was you have to shoot everything in this direction. We can do the floor, but not the ceiling, or vice versa. And that was sort of the way of getting it done on just a shoestring budget. VistaVision is 8 perforation 35 millimeter. The 70 millimeter is much closer to the resolution of VistaVision than a 35 millimeter print is. So, the 70 mil is just much more accurate in terms of what information is there. And when projected properly, it's frankly unbeatable. VistaVision is a technology that was engineered in the 1950s, and because the film takes place in the 1950s, it seemed like a no-brainer to use that format for this. And I would say that really, one of the one of the biggest influences on the movie as a whole was Alfred Hitchcock in terms of the mise-en-scène of films like North by Northwest, and shooting usually in mediums and masters and covering a lot of text that way. That minimalistic approach of not just mopping it up with a bunch of close-ups and medium close-ups, etc., is that it saves you a lot of time, and then formally it makes the films, what they are. I think I would make films in the same way anyhow, because I find them just more formally rigorous and daring, but it's sort of where form meets function. It could only go together one way, and that is what allowed us to get it done in 33 days for, about $10 million.